Hello experimenters, my name's Ryan. I'm a developer advocate here at GrowthBook, and I'm joined today by our CEO, Graham, who is going to help us walk through some of our new AI features. Graham, what do we got in store today?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Hey, everybody. We're really excited about some of the ways we've integrated AI into GrowthBook to really help you take your experimentation program to the next level. So we built a whole slew of features to help make your experimentation life a lot easier using AI to automate some of those tasks. And one of the tasks that we're pretty excited about is automatic summarization of experiment results. So sometimes you'll get a lot of metrics, some can be up, some can be down, and it can be time consuming to kind of summarize all those results and get them everything into the right shape that you want to present to the rest of your team. But now you can do that automatically with AI. So if we go to experiments, we're just going to grab one that's running. And so here's an experiment we're running where we change the header size. If we stop the experiment, we can pick what we want, like what happened, if it was one loss inconclusive. And then we can click here at the bottom and just click generate analysis. And what that's doing is taking all the data from the metrics and the variance and all the information you provide about hypothesis and whatnot, and generating some key findings about this experiment. So then we can stop this experiment and have it, rolled out for the entire. So now we can save this to the experiment, and that's available as like a card on top of that experiment. One of the cool things at GrowthBook that we're doing for really all the features in AI that we can is exposing the prompts that we're using to generate this. So this is very wordy. It's a lot of text. What we can do here is we can go into the settings and we can actually edit this prompt. So if we go over to the settings page, we have this tab here called AI settings, and we've listed all the different prompts that we're using throughout the application that you can edit to your exact needs. So here's the prompt that we just used to generate this experiment analysis, and we have the key findings sections and conclusion sections. So the results that it generated is actually quite long. So we're going to go in here and make that a bit shorter. So in the key findings section, list at most 3 metrics, pick the most important ones. So if we save that and then go back to our experiments, we can go back to the one that we just stopped. And if we go back here and regenerate this analysis, it should update based on our input prompt that we just added. So here we see now that it's only have 3, so we can use that suggested and save that. So now we have a much simpler prompt. So you can really get custom, you can really modify it to your exact needs as an organization.
All right, so that's really cool. So you get this first of all, just a really nice summary of the experiment that's generated automatically. But then, which just seems like something that we always try to do in GrowthBook is give you the amount, like a lot of customization ability. So you can really tweak this to your organization's needs, whatever you're trying to do. So I could see organizations going into that prompt and really fine-tuning it to fit the voice, the personality, whatever the kind of mission of the experimentation team or whoever's working there. And then, like you said at the very beginning, this is also really nice because going in and looking at the experiment results, especially if you're not a data scientist, can be overwhelming. So this can give you a nice high-level summary pretty easily with not a lot of overhead. So that seems really cool.
Yeah, it works for different languages as well. So you can tell it to return any results.
That is really cool. I haven't seen this in, a lot of companies are adding AI to their products, but there's really the ability to tweak the prompting so easily. That's really nice.
I haven't seen it in any products actually, but yeah, it's part of our philosophy of keeping everything very customizable.
Nice. So what other AI features have we introduced?
Yeah, so we have a couple other features that we've introduced in this version. We have a lot more planned, so this is just the initial version. One of the cool ones we've added is the ability to check hypothesis. So if you've ever been part of an organization that runs a lot of experiments, making sure that people have correct hypothesis before you decide to run that experiment is usually considered pretty good hygiene for running trustworthy experiments. So making sure that your hypothesis is falsifiable, making sure it lists like the actual metrics it's trying to move. And so right now, if you go into GrowthBook and we create a new experiment, we can add a hypothesis here and it's entirely freeform, right? But let's say you as an organization want to enforce a certain quality of hypotheses across that, and so you want to make sure those are all correct. So what we can do is, like this one here, we have a hypothesis that reducing the size of the header image will encourage more people to sign up for an account. And so what we can do is we can actually check this hypothesis against our like a defined list of like what is a good hypothesis, and it'll actually recommend some changes to make sure that it matches. So we can like really enforce hypothesis hygiene and hypothesis standards across your organization. And again, this is entirely customizable. Like we can customize how we want our hypothesis to be generated. So we could even say like, we can adjust it to make sure it lists metrics, or list who wrote this hypothesis, or whatever it is that you might need at your organization.
Nice. So it helps with keeping the quality consistent across different experiments. And yeah, again, you can customize it to whatever your organization needs. Nice. That's pretty cool. All right. So what else do you have for us?
Yeah, we got a couple other ones. So one of the things we've noticed is that organizations tend to add a lot of metrics, and the bigger the organization, the more metrics they can add. And one of the reasons they add metrics is because it's very hard to figure out if this metric does exactly what I think it does, because data analysts might add a rather cryptic name, and when you're a user of that experiment, you have to select from a list, and you don't get a whole lot of context around what that is. We actually do allow you to add descriptions in metrics in GrowthBook, but it's not like top of mind when you're creating the metric, usually in the headspace of like, do I get the SQL right? Can I get this metric to show me what I want? And less so like, can I make sure that it's usable by other people in the organization? So what we've done is added the ability to automatically generate this description. So making it like super easy for you to add these descriptions. So when you click this button, it actually looks at all the context around this metric, the SQL that you generated, and describes it. It does a summary of that metric, so that when you save this, it makes it easy for others to kind of understand why you've added this metric. And then when they add it to their experiments, they know that it's either the right metric, so they don't have to duplicate things. Again, this is also editable. So we could say like here in the metrics description, we could say like, give the summary as a haiku. And then if we go back to our metrics here, we can edit this and regenerate like a simpler, okay. It added a haiku as well to the end. So, yeah, so not quite, yeah, you can adjust it there. We can say return only the haiku, and it'll probably just return that. You can have it talk like a pirate. Like you can really get it custom for what you need.
That's very cool. Yeah, again, it's cutting down on some of these tedious activities that are really important over time, but you're kind of like, I don't want to write a whole description for this metric. You can just click a button, get it, and then your whole team benefits. It seems like a really great addition. Is there more?
There's one more that we launched, which is in our fairly new version. We added SQL Explorer, which is basically Tableau or Looker. So what we can do is we can create a new a new Explorer page, which is essentially just any SQL that you want. You can visualize it. You can get analysis, kind of do product analysis, or figure out what's happening in your product. But not everyone knows SQL, right? So sometimes this can be a bit daunting to just write SQL, depending on your data warehouse. So we do let you kind of list all the different tables out here, and you can kind of understand the data structure of your table. But even that's maybe not enough. So really here you can do things like, we can enter something like list the top 10 pages by view count. And so I haven't given any context around my tables or anything really than that. And I can just generate the SQL and it works. And then we can also do something like, in the past 2 or 3 months. So you can get really custom with this, and you can kind of describe exactly how you want it to work. And then part of this with SQL Builder is just make that like really easy. So we can add like the page title, and then the y-axis will do the view count, and we can just visualize this data really easily. So without knowing any SQL, I can create reports. I can share this with my team, and I can also go in and edit the SQL at any point.
That's really nice. So yeah, again, just making experimentation accessible to more people on the team. So even if you're a little rusty on SQL, or it's not you haven't done it a lot, or even if you have, it's kind of a nice way just to get at least, if not a complete query, something to start from. You had said at the beginning that this is just the beginning of AI features. Do you want to share at all a little preview of what's to come?
There's a lot of ways that AI will impact the future of experimentation development. One of the things that we built is WebLens, and WebLens is a way to automatically generate hypotheses. So it can kind of examine your website and knows best practices and will recommend experiments. And what we see in the future is sort of a tighter integration between hypothesis generation, running experiments, automating analysis, just making that lifecycle like really easy so that you can really start experimenting at a high level and doing that in a trustworthy way. One of the AI features that I haven't shown you yet is the ability to make sure that you haven't already run a duplicate experiment. So we launched the learning dashboard here, where you can see all the experiments you've run recently, and you can filter them, you can search them. But not everyone is great about making sure they search to make sure an experiment has already or hasn't already been run before they will start a new one. So one of the things we built is when you're creating an experiment, if you say want to run a new experiment about pricing, and we'll say like reducing the header size will increase conversions. If you've added the hypothesis description, we'll actually check to see if there's any similar experiments here. And so we can see that we have one that is pretty much the same experiment. So it helps stop duplicative experiments, and then we can kind of click over here and see, oh yeah, this applies to us, like because we have the screenshots of what this is versus maybe it's not, it's fine. So that just makes it kind of the life cycle a little bit easier to make sure you don't waste time and waste work on things that you've already run.
It's again, okay, so we got a bonus feature. Wasn't even in the original setup. So you can check to see if you've already run an experiment. That's pretty cool. So using the LLM to search through past experiments and see if there's anything similar. You also shared WebLens. We'll have a link below if you want to check that out. You don't even have to be on GrowthBook to take that for a whirl, and lots more to come. So we want to hear from you. How are you using these new AI features? And what do you think would be cool to see in an AI way for an experimentation platform? Let us know below or join our Slack community. Thank you, Graham, very much for showing that stuff off. Is there anything else you want to say or share?
No, we're excited about the future. Please let us know what else we can do. We always like building features that are requested by our users.
Cool. Thank you, and see you in the next one.